Hi, and welcome to another day in our kitchen. Today, instead of talking about eating, we're kind of talking about not eating. Maybe that's a little bit of a misleading topic or title, but what is intermittent fasting and why do we do it?
So intermittent fasting is basically just delaying your eating window, or in other words, extending your fasting window.
And what does fasting mean?
So fasting is basically when your body is running off fats. You don't
So
have
you're not eating. You're not taking any fuel in.
Yeah, you're not taking any fuel in. The idea is you've kind of burned through most of your glucose and you're just kind of running off of fats and ketones. So that's kind of, this is good because we store fat on our body and this helps us burn it off.
What about, a lot of the rhetoric that we hear is you don't want to skip breakfast, you don't want to go until you're hungry because you're going to shut off your metabolism. Is that what intermittent fasting has the power to do?
No, I mean, I'm sure it could in certain situations, but the thing, this goes back to an efficiency thing. The idea to think that we need to eat 4 or 6 meals a day every couple hours to maintain our metabolism. Well, it's not necessarily flawed, but it's not necessary, I guess I should say. And to eat multiple meals a day is excruciating.
Well, maybe there is some truth in eating multiple meals a day to keep your metabolism going, but it's only really, you referred to it earlier that the body has 3 different sources: glucose, ketones, and fat. And you're definitely keeping that glucose energy or that glucose engine burning. I mean, if you're eating every 4 to 6 hours, that's on and it's turned on. But unfortunately, it seems that it might actually turn off the ketones and the fat burning, which most people are after, right? Yeah,
I mean, most definitely. That's the idea, depending on how most people eat when they're eating those 6 meals a day. They're usually eating a lot of whole grains and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. They're constantly introducing sugar in their body, even though it's not added sugar.
Sure, and even if it's not sugar, I mean, eventually at some point your body is metabolizing what you take into sugar, so your enzyme paths and your cells and everything else are still seeing some form of sugar, whether it's from the food or from your body's metabolism.
Yep.
So, okay, so the intermittent fasting, let's go back to that. So that's the idea of you have these eating windows and these non-eating windows. What about calorie count or volume of food? Are you limiting or restricting that in any way?
No, I mean, the idea behind this is, as we discussed in a previous topic, that, I may eat anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day. The idea is when I do intermittent fasting, I'm still eating those 5,000 calories. I'm just doing it in a short amount of time, and it's usually starts at lunchtime, eating a big lunch, maybe a snack, a protein shake in the middle, and then a really big dinner, and that's kind of where I get the bulk of my calories in a much shorter window.
So you're saying skip breakfast?
I am saying skip breakfast, and I believe breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Now there's 2 kind of things to that. One, we tend to drink bulletproof coffee. That definitely helps, and I can explain that a little bit about that here in a second. But second, even before I was doing bulletproof, and even a couple times a week, I don't drink bulletproof, so I will be doing the intermittent fasting with basically nothing in my system other than maybe some black coffee. And one of the most freeing things ever.
To not have to get up and eat.
Exactly.
Not have to figure out where your first meal is going to come from because your body's trained to burn the fat or the ketones that are on it.
Yeah,
instead of looking for an external source of energy.
I mean, I remember, when we first started dating, when we'd travel somewhere, the whole idea of having, if we were getting on a...
You could always stay at Holiday Inn Expresses.
Well, that. But even if we were catching an early plane, like 7 a.m., you had to start doing that crazy math of, all right, well, we got to leave by this time. So then I got to try to cook some eggs because I don't want to eat nasty airport food. And so then you're cooking eggs at like 3 in the morning just so you can make a flight at 7 a.m. So those days are gone, thankfully.
Sure. And there's some performance advantages to doing intermittent fasting too, because we're stressing and then relieving those stress on the body and giving those enzyme pathways in our digestion a little bit of a break during that break. And that's good. So there's not just not being dependent on food, but we can make some gains as well from this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gives your digestion system a rest, a time to repair. It's one of those things, if you just think of anything overuse, if you're eating all the time, your digestion system is just working overdrive, and it doesn't have time or the energy to make any repairs or rebuild or any of that kind of stuff. So this really helps improve your digestion system. I'm having a hard time saying that word. And you don't have the hunger spikes or the crashes, and it's definitely recommended trying. You know, I always say though, make sure you got your diet in order before you try to do this. Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to start doing some intermittent fasting, where do they start? Why breakfast? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, so going back to bulletproof coffee, this is kind of why bulletproof coffee ends up being one of the ultimate biohacks. Because one, a lot of us are busy and we just don't have time to make something for breakfast. And the coffee allows us to that's something we can make fast. We get a big dose of fat from the butter and the ketones, and so we help keep our hormones running. So we have this mental clarity, and we get all the benefits of the mental clarity and even feeling good, but we're not taking in anything that's going to spike our blood sugar. So we get continue to fast, mm-hmm. continue to burn fat well into lunch, and
it's kind of like a freebie in the fasted state, if you will.
It kind of is, yeah. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it just because when we do it without bulletproof, some days it's easy, some days it's hard, mm-hmm. or it's not that hard, but you definitely are hungry. Mm-hmm. So that bulletproof just helps sustain you and powers you through, and that's definitely what I recommend.
Okay, so breakfast is the meal to skip. And how long should the first fast be, and how long should be the goal fast?
Well, I guess real quick, I could say either breakfast or dinner would be the one to skip. Okay. Let me just give you a time frame. The idea is to shoot for 16 to even 18 hours of fasted time. Of non-eating time, and then you know, you do the math depending on how long you do.
6 hours. You know,
6,
math isn't your strength.
So, well, 6 to 8 hours depending on if you do a 16 or 18 hour fast. So that's kind of your eating window. So mm-hmm. you're going 16 to 18, not eating, 6 to 8 eating window, and that's kind of what you want to shoot for. So depending on your schedule, your lifestyle, you may have to.
And you recommend having sleep as your non-eating hours.
Oh yeah, yeah, because you're going to get a big chunk of your non-eating hours while you're asleep, so it's not going to be that hard to do.
Right. So don't try to get up, eat breakfast, and then try to get in a meal and sleep, I don't know, 16 hours. I mean, if you can, that's great, and maybe go for it and tell us your secret. But if you can stack your sleeping hours and then delay your first meal to lunch, then maybe. And there's no need to right out the gate go for the 16 or 18 hours. You know, maybe the answer is you just delay breakfast until 10 o'clock, and then the next week you delay it until noon or so on. And when people are starting out, do you say once a week, every day, every other day? What?
I would say, well, I mean, when you're starting out, you know, maybe 3 times a week, but you know, this is something we basically do every day. Mm-hmm. There's a few days, like if we get a rare Sunday off or something, we might eat breakfast first thing in the morning. But for the most part, we can say we do this at least 6 days a week, every week.
And this with anything else, everybody's body's going to respond differently. So with everything that we suggest, always want to caveat it that you got to try it out for yourself. But you've got to try it out with, you know, a clear mind. You got to give it an honest try, and you kind of have to make sure there's no other crap going on in your life, and then give it an honest assessment. If you find that this actually doesn't work for you, don't feel obligated to do it. But if it works for you, why not? It doesn't really cost you anything extra. It actually frees up a lot of time, and it's worth a go.
Yeah.
So good luck with your intermittent fasting. We would love to hear any questions that you might have over on teamrenon.com. Thanks, guys. Shakshusa is a great meal if you're looking for breakfast on the go. If you're doing intermittent fasting, it's great as your first meal. You'll need breakfast sausage, tomatoes, a little bit of cheese, and eggs. To get going, you'll start by browning your sausage. Do this in a separate pan, keep checking on it, keep cooking it till it's just right. Then go ahead, crack those eggs, go for a whole bunch, a whole dozen here. We're looking for 4 servings, so this is only 3 eggs per. Again, keep looking at that sausage, make sure it's nice and brown, nice and ready. When it's all done, pass it into a big bowl. Here we're going to combine all of our ingredients, our tomato sauce and our cheese. Eggs also need to be cooked separately. Season them appropriately with salt and pepper. Then put on the tomato sauce, put in red chili pepper flakes, butter, and eggs. 1 big container. Give it a little bit more of a cook. Add your cheese on top, mix well, and then portion out in your serving size. Then enjoy this great morning treat or mid-morning snack.
So if you like this content, please share it with your friends. And of course, we are always open to feedback and or any questions. So thank you. And once again, good luck on this 21-day journey.